Welcome back to Conversations with Yvonne. Today, we're shining a spotlight on a true artist with a brush, someone who doesn't just paint walls, but transform entire spaces with color and creativity. Whether it's modern neutrals, bold statements, or flawless finishes, she brings vision and vibrance to every project. Please join me in welcoming Anne Barton, a powerhouse painter who's here to share her tips, stories, and what it really takes to elevate a home one stroke at a time. Hey, Anne, how you doing?
Good, Yvonne. Good morning. Great to see you.
Great to see you too. So thank you for joining me. As I mentioned before, this is a very casual conversation. There's no one topic at all, but why don't you go ahead and share with everyone who you are, what company you're with, and probably, what areas you work in, just a little bit of information about yourself.
Yeah, happy to. So I am Anne Barton. I am the sole owner of Barmac Painters. I started my company 4 years ago after being in the industry for, over 10 years. And I decided I wanted to go old school. We have a lot of contractors out there, a lot of types of contractors, flooring, roofing, GCs, all of that. And I wanted to go back to old school values. And so I started my company to give people the value and the service and the care that I think people should get when they're spending their hard-earned money. And as far as where we work, got to tell you, all over the Puget Sound. There is really no area we won't work in. We try to keep it within a couple of hours of the Tacoma area, but we've gone up to Bellingham. We go where people need us.
So you got into the business 10 years ago, or you created your business 10 years ago.
Created
correct?
my business 4 years ago, got into the industry about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, right around there. Yeah.
Yes. And is there a lot of female painters out there?
There are not. There are a few of us. I got to be honest, sometimes my husband is retired. Sometimes my husband will come with me to a bid or do a job walk or something. And whoever I'm going to meet, they just go directly to talking to him. And he'll say, I know nothing about it. I'm just along for the ride. So it is not common, but we're out there. And I think it's becoming more and more common as time goes on.
Oh, awesome. But I can see that where, being that, most painters are males, right?
Yeah.
So then when, like you said, when it's you and your husband, they just gravitate thinking that
Yes.
he's in charge when it's actually you in charge.
Yes, he has to come to me to ask questions when he's at home, and he's like, well, we need to do this or that. And I'm like, no, you're doing that wrong. Let me tell you. And I do have to say, though, I don't personally paint. No one would want me to paint their house. My talents are not nearly as good as my painters are. I'm just the workhorse behind the operation.
Okay, that's good to know. So did you ever paint, or were you always behind the scenes?
I never painted. Well, I have painted and it's terrible. But so I went to work for a national franchise and I was the office manager there. And as time went on, I just thought, well, I can take on more. And I ended up being the general manager there and running the entire operation and learned all the ins and outs of it. And quite honestly, learned a lot of things that I didn't like that I saw. So I took all of that knowledge and I took the changes that I wanted to make that you really can't make with somebody else's business and decided to start out on my own and do things my way. So not a painter, though I do stay up on all of the new things that need to be done and training painters to make sure that they're in line with new concepts and new ideas and new equipment and all that. Rarely will you see me lift a paintbrush, though I have had to do it.
Okay. So how many people are on your team?
I have 8 crews, and the crews vary in sizes. Average crew is 3 people. I do have a crew of 5, but depending on the size of the job, we'll align the crew and the job itself. So if there's something that's really, we need a strong talent in interior, crown molding and the whole mill package and everything that needs a lot of detail. I've got crews that specialize in that. And then I've got crews for exterior residential jobs and exterior and interior commercial jobs as well.
Okay, so that's quite a large business you've created in the last 4 years.
Working on it. I am trying very hard to have I heard this the other day and I loved it because it described me. The amenities of a large company with the care and communication of a small company.
Oh,
So
nice.
I consider it a small business. I think it is technically still a small business, but I really want each individual customer to feel like, you know, their best friend just painted their house and they feel really comfortable with everything that took place.
You work commercial and residential, if that's what I heard you
I
say.
do.
Okay,
Correct.
so being that I'm in real estate, we're going to kind of stick on the residential side.
Sure. Yeah.
How do you help homeowners, and I would be one of those, to choose the right color for their space?
Yeah, a couple of different ways. So one thing we always recommend, and this seems like it is so simple, but go to the store to look at your colors. Do not look online. Looking online is great for an idea, but depending on your monitor, it can look completely different
Mm.
online than it does in the store. We also highly recommend that you always get a sample and put it on your walls. Another thing that we do is mock-ups. So generally when a customer hires us to do some painting for them, I'll
Hmm.
ask them, give me a general idea of what you're looking for. And sometimes they don't know colors, but they'll say, well, I've got brick on the outside. What's going to go with that?
Hmm.
Or I like a modern look, or I want something that's going to be timeless. So I'll go over kind of a broad spectrum of color options with them. And then we'll take a picture of their house. Let's just use an exterior as an example. We'll take a picture of their house and we do a mock-up for them with different colors and then send that over and let them look at it. And a lot of times they'll go, okay, well, I love the siding color, but could we try the trim and something else? So we'll just do a variety of different mock-ups until the customer loves what they are seeing. And then the final step in that is that we would go get samples of those colors and apply it to the outside or inside if it was an interior so that they can actually see them in person.
Yes.
Especially interior, you might have light that hits it a certain way
Ah.
and you don't like it once it's in there. So we really want people to go the full length of choosing the color because, you know, you're with it for a while, or if you're selling it, you want it to be appealing to a multitude of people. So we want to put the time into making sure that it's right.
I had never thought of that. I had my house painted, and the way I chose my paint was I went to new construction because
Uh-huh.
those were the newest colors, right? And
Yeah.
I found the house that I liked the colors in and went and
Uh-huh.
asked the people there, what are those colors? And went back and that's how I
Yeah.
painted my house because I
I
would
think
go.
it's a great idea.
Yeah, it was because I was going to actual people houses and they couldn't remember what their paint color was or they didn't have a sample of it. So once I realized that, it's probably best that I go to new construction, look and see what are those colors, which are like the trend for right then, right? So
Correct.
to do that, find it and then get the colors from them, that was the best. And my house was the prettiest house in the neighborhood.
What'd you do? What colors?
It was like a sage green with a burgundy door.
Okay.
I ended up having to color my door twice because I thought I wanted a red door.
Yeah.
But once we did it, red is not red. There's too many shades of red, so we ended up going with the
Red is tough. Red
red
is
is
tough.
tough.
It can come out looking orange. Yeah, it's a difficult color, but I love the way you chose it. I think that's great. I've had customers say something similar. Oh, hey, I love the house down the street. Can you figure out what color that is? And I'm literally knocking on doors. Hey, I'm from a painting company. Do you know what your colors are? We do have a color matcher. It kind of looks like a little magnifying glass kind of thing
Mhm.
like jewelers use. And
Oh,
you can put it up to it and do a color match. We try to avoid that situation for our customers in the future by we actually have quart cans of paint that have instead of leaving somebody with a 5 pound bucket or something, touch
yes.
up paint. And then we put the exact name, the sheen, all that. And then we email them the colors and sheens that they used so that hopefully in the future, if anybody knocks on their door or they decide to repaint and they loved the same colors, they will remember what it was.
Yes. That makes sense. That makes sense. So, what are some of the common mistakes that people make when they go DIY?
A good one that I was going to mention today that you already brought up this morning before we started recording is touch ups. Touch ups are a very bad idea. And I will say openly There are jobs that I will lose because I won't do touch-ups in our company. We'll go to do a bid and somebody will say, well, we only want these 5 spots painted because, we patched a hole or whatever.
Right.
Even if you use the exact same can of paint that was originally used on your walls and it's been sitting out in the garage and you go put it on, you will be able to see those touch-ups. There really is no such thing as being able to just take your brush or a roller and cover over little areas. When it dries, you're going to look at it and you're going to see it. So although it's more work, we always tell everybody paint the whole wall. You are going to have a better outcome if you paint that whole wall.
Right.
So that would be my first and most important tip that I would give customers. Secondly, you want to make sure that you are using a sheen. So, whether it be flat or eggshell or satin, that is going to be the best for your walls. Satin is a very popular sheen to use right now, but if your walls have a lot of drywall differentiation, that's going to show. So you might paint it, look at it and think, oh, it's shiny and it's pretty. And then you're going to walk by down the hall or something and you're going to see all those drywall imperfections. So go with more of a matte or a flat paint. They sell a lot of washable flats. So your texture looks a lot better, but you can actually wash that flat paint. So that happens a lot with older homes. Newer homes, little better situation. Older homes have had so much patching over the years, you tend to have more flaws.
There you're saying, older homes typically have more patching. About how many times or how often should anyone paint their interior or exterior home?
So exterior, you're looking at about 8 to 10 years. And even though if you look at any paint can these days, they'll tell you they have a 20-year warranty, a 25-year warranty, and that's true. It's not necessarily going to peel or flake during that time. You want to make sure that your siding is well sealed. So over the years of, especially around here with a lot of rain, when you start to see that your paint is looking a little flatter, it's looking a little thinner, you really want to make sure that you get a new coat on there. 2 coats always. It's not necessarily because you think, oh, it's going to look better, but oftentimes it is just to protect that siding. Siding is so expensive that, it saddens me when I go to somebody's house, and we recently did a house where they hadn't painted in something like 25 years. And the siding was it was rotted out. They had so much money in siding that they had to replace. And while exterior painting seems expensive, in the long run, you could preserve your siding, virtually for your lifetime and not have to worry about it if you took care of the painting. And as far as interior, honestly, when it's looking dirty, when it's looking, over the years, you tend to, stuff happens, kids, fingerprints, all that kind of stuff. You've washed it down enough times that interior really doesn't need to be redone unless it's looking dirty or you just want a fresh look.
That's good to know. And to also know about the exterior, because you're right. When I purchased paint, it is saying, 20 years, 25 years, but you just don't think about it. All depends on the wear and tear with the weather to decide if you're going to paint your home again. I know my home, the siding looks a little faded for me, even though my house is only 13 years old, because that one side is faded. I'm thinking, ooh, we need to get this painted to protect it.
Yes. Yeah. Protection is huge. And depending on, if 3 sides of your house look great and you have a side that is looking faded because that's the side where the sun hits it more, there are people who will just paint the one side. I've actually got a couple customers who will have me paint one side every year. So they're only bearing the expense of one side, and then the next year, so it comes around every 4 years, we're going back to the same side. So there are ways to look, go around that. If you look at it and go, well, everything looks good, I don't want to pay to have my whole house painted.
Can you share a painting tip or a hack that most people don't know?
Let's see. The first thing that comes to mind is when you're painting around your windows, which is a pane, right? Oh, literally a window pane. I just made a joke there. Masking around the windows is time consuming, and getting that right down to the edge to make sure that you're getting in there. There is a product called Liquid Mask, and you literally just spray it on your windows, goes right down into the cracks and all that. You paint around the windows, and then when it's done, you just peel that liquid mask right off. Anybody can do it. It's definitely a DIY product, but our painters use it also. We do a lot of houses, especially over in Gig Harbor, where there's a lot of windows overlooking the water and all that. And yeah, the liquid mask is quite the time saver, and it does a better job.
What has been the toughest project that you've ever come across? And how did it turn out? Like, what was the challenge and how did it turn out?
The challenges, every year you get a couple challenges. And, when I told you I'm into old school values and kind of going back to the way things used to be done back in the day, I want my customer service to be top notch. But you sometimes have those situations where no matter what you do, it's going to be difficult. It's hard to please some people. And I actually had a situation last year, and I ended up feeling very sorry for the lady, but her mom had passed away.
Oh.
And there were three sisters who were handling the sale of the house. And we went in there, and it was for one of our real estate agents that we work with. We repainted the entire thing. It was a pretty big house, just shy of 4,000 square feet. And two of the sisters were fine. The third sister was having such a hard time selling the house. It just was breaking her heart. And at first, it seemed a little frustrating. I didn't know how we were going to deal with this. We would come back, and she would have literally hundreds of pieces of blue tape everywhere in the house. And it would be, when you look at your texture, not all texture is even. And when you paint a house, you're not retexturing, you're painting over the existing texture. But if there was a little bump in the texture or there was anything, she wanted literally absolutely every single thing fixed. And it's really impossible to do that unless you do what's called skim coating. You'd have to skim coat the walls and completely redo the texture. So we did as much as we could, and we'd take off the blue tape, and we'd come back the next day, and there would be hundreds more that were in new places. And I met with her, and I talked to her, and I was trying to explain it to her, and she would cry. She just would cry. And instead of it being frustrating, my heart was just broken for her, because I'm thinking, how do I explain to her that, this was her mom and dad's house. Her mom had been the one who had passed, her dad was already gone. And I think she just didn't want to let go of it. And if she did have to let go of it, she wanted everything to look perfect, that, this is the place that her mom had lived. And this went on for quite a long time. And we ended up meeting every day, and she was in tears every day. And at the end of the project, I really felt like I just wanted to give her a big hug and say, I'm so sorry that you have to get rid of your house. It ended up turning into such an emotional thing. And it wasn't just a project that we were painting. And after they sold it, I called her and asked her how she was doing to see if she was okay. And I never really... Painting a house is somewhat emotional because this is where people live and they care about their environment. But that was the most emotional, that went from sort of a frustrating, how the heck are we ever going to explain this to this person, to, wow, I feel really bad for her. So we got through it together. But it was a challenge. Maybe not the question you were expecting or the answer you were expecting, but it was an emotional project that I remember.
Well, I'm glad you shared it with us. I really am. So right now, I just have some quick rapid fire questions for you so people can get to know you a little better. Are you ready?
I will try, yes.
Okay, so coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Favorite color?
Pink.
What's your hidden talent?
Singing.
Oh, I'm going to have to hear you one day.
Very hidden talent that no one gets to hear.
What is one thing you can't live without?
My grandkids.
Oh, how many you have?
2, 10-month-old and an almost 3-month-old.
Oh, you got babies.
Baby babies. I'm obsessed. Yeah, I got my first grandson last June and a granddaughter in February.
Yay! Don't they smell good?
Oh gosh, they do. You just want to squeeze them all the time.
Oh my gosh. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, 1 or 2 more. Most used app on your phone?
Instagram. I hate to say that, but Instagram. I'm a scroller.
Texting or talking on the phone?
Texting.
Okay, well, that's it. You did good. And thank you, Anne, so much for joining me on Conversations with Yvonne. I really appreciate you joining me today.
Thanks for asking me, Yvonne. I love any time I get to hang out with you.
Okay, so for my audience, if you like, please subscribe, ring the bell, all the things you do with YouTube, and we'd love to see you next time. Bye.